spend it, I think, it's like.
Arsenal Chiefs green light stunning 50 million plus January deal. Arsenal are ready to back Mikel Arteta to hilt in the January transfer window, sources have told Football Insider. It's believed club chiefs are ready to spend up to 50 million on a single player to boost the team's title challenge. Bit of deja vu there. Central midfield is a priority for Arteta, and Arsenal admit Thomas Partey's continuing battles with injury and doubts over his long-term future at the Emirates Stadium. Big up you lot tuned in. Smash the like button, people. With it being the international break, let's just see what the latest tabloid talk around our football club is. As you lot know, and I've been very vocal on it even before this injury crisis, I believe we need a central midfielder or two. I already said, I do think we can improve defensively, and for whatever you feel of the options we have with Zinchenko, with Benjamin White, with Timber, with Gabriel, Saliba, Kirill, and what have you. And at the moment, Ramsdale and Raya, you look in the final third, you've got Trossard, who's the man of the moment, Bukayo Saka and Martinelli, the star boys, Smith Rowe, Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, Gabriel Jesus, and probably players are missing out. When you look in the central of Arsenal's midfield, there is more questions than answers, really. Thomas Partey is a quality player, but despite the fact he was fit for around 50 appearances last season, you're never quite confident that he will be fit, really and truly. And, the best trait you can have as a footballer is being fit. I think the only one there isn't question marks over is Declan Rice. In fact, the only questions over Declan Rice is how good can he be, because he's like a breath of fresh air. He's fantastic in that 6 role. He's getting to grips with the 8. I think we've not even scratched the surface in that regards. But Declan Rice is the only one that you feel confident with. Partey, I think in the summer, it's an opportunity for the club to find his long-term replacement. Not saying he should necessarily be sold and he hasn't got a use, but find his necessary replacement, shed his probably hefty wages off the wage bill. Obviously, we brought in a couple of players who are probably on big money. We're probably going to do that in the summer to some degree, and we've given new deals. Ramsdale, again, forget his dad's comments, but he's probably someone that if he doesn't leave in January, which I wouldn't sanction, is probably someone that's going to keep it moving, and one of the only players that's going to bring in a quote-unquote decent fee in the summer. Smith Rowe could be one of them, and of course, Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah, dependent on if we bring in another wide man, another striker, really. That's music to my ears. If you can find a player for 10 million or you have to spend 50 million in midfield, do it, because I need one in January as a minimum and I need one in the summer. In an ideal world, I would love Arsenal Football Club to turn around in January and sign a winger, a striker and 2 central midfielders. If you offer me one position, I believe it's central midfield. Obviously, a striker makes us stronger in winning games. A winger gives us more strength in depth. So I do think they're all of equal importance, but I just feel midfield, I think, if Partey's fit, there's an option there. You've got Declan Rice, Jorginho, there isn't too much longevity and he is doing quite well this season, but with every great game that Jorginho plays, you do know you're signing up to maybe the second half in the Spurs game at the Emirates. I think El Nene's got a role here and he's a good guy, but the same logic. And when you consider Jorginho, Partey and El Nene, I do think in football, you hear someone's 30 and it's, oh my God, they can't help us anymore, but they're on the wrong side of 30. So in terms of fitness, options and longevity, there's a lot of questions in central midfield, which Edu and Arteta were both central midfielders in their careers at some point, and were both central midfielders at Arsenal. Obviously, Arteta played a lot more further forward, and then when his career was winding down, he then played that holding role. We know we need an injection. You hear stuff around FFP, and with the money we spent in the summer, who knows? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss, as well as smashing the like button. The Gunners board, led by Stan and Josh Kroenke, are willing to provide the funds to further back Arteta with a stunning January deal, despite spending big in the most recent summer window. Declan Rice obviously joined for a club record fee. Timber and Havertz arrived, and so did David Raya. So it just says we're backing him. It doesn't really say if this is a £50 million budget we have in January, or if we're going over one player. But if they are going to inject more cash to keep us ticking along, I don't think there's a single Arsenal fan that wouldn't want that. Arsenal have been keen to bring in a new defensive midfielder amid doubts over the long-term future of Partey, as well as Jorginho and El Nene, who are both out of contract at the end of the season. I believe Jorginho's got an option clause to extend his. We have been linked with Zubamendi of Sociedad and Douglas Luiz. Now, we're going to skip in a bit ahead, but Tierney, apparently Sociedad want to buy him for 30 million on a permanent deal. Is there some creativity to do for a summer deal with Zubamendi? You know, if you're willing to pay 30 million for Tierney, and Zubamendi has a 50 odd million pound release clause, provided the man wants to sign for Arsenal and we're putting the groundwork, have Tierney, shave off 30 million, we'll give you the other 20, and then that gives us more room to maneuver. With Sociedad qualifying for the latter stages of the Champions League, I don't think Zubamendi is going to want to exit. You can activate his release clause, but January made it clear he didn't want to leave. Was religiously linked with Arsenal and Barcelona in the summer for one reason or another. Those clubs addressed other areas or the same area of midfield. He has stayed put, so I'm not sure. Douglas Luiz, I think, based on the fact that Edu and Arteta like him, fair enough. But Aston Villa are flying. They're doing great things under Unai Emery. If you want him, you're going to have to pay top dollar. It's as simple as that, people. Both players are rated highly and apparently are very high on Mikel Arteta's list of targets for midfield. Questions have been asked of Arsenal strike force. You know you've got Jesus, Eddie Nketiah and Havertz. None of them really provide steady streams of goals, really. So a striker is something that surely got to be on Arsenal's hit list. Speaking of strikers, apparently Gabriel Jesus could play in World Cup qualifier against Argentina. Apparently, we missed the Colombia game. And I'm sure if you're keeping your eyes open to all the news around it appears 1 minute he's playing, then he's not, then he's returning back to Arsenal, then he's not. We don't know. What we do know is that, you know, he's been out of action for just under a month now. He last played for our football club on the 24th of October. Apparently, Arsenal preferred Jesus to stay in London to continue his rehab, but Brazil boss selected him for the crunch games against Colombia and Argentina. And it seems like, as much as him wanting Jesus, it seems like the players he selected, like the experienced ones, not the, you know, the Andres and the Hendricks, 2 quality players. It seems like he wants to just nip these players into what he, you know, even if you're not playing and training, see what it's all about. And it seems like he wants that togetherness sort of thing. Brazil, despite the fact Jesus appeared to be injured, wanted to examine the forwards' fitness themselves before deciding whether he could be available. Fair enough. If I'm Arsenal, I'm probably maybe exaggerating Jesus' fitness, because I don't really care if he plays for Brazil as much as we want anyone to represent their nations, but I don't really care. I want him to be fit. And, you know, if you're Brazil, you don't really buy everything Arsenal is saying. Obviously, you have to operate on trust, but you want to see your own medical stuff. Hopefully, there's no setbacks. I'm sure you've all seen the pictures of him participating in some elements of training. They've actually been utilizing Martinelli as a false 9. Well, man said false 9, as a number 9. So that could have long-term benefits for Arsenal Football Club. And it seems like big Gabriel, our centre-back, is gelling in well. I'm sure you've all seen the clip of when he's absolutely barged that Hendrick youngster to high heavens. What a welcome to the Brazilian national team setup. But yeah, and he's going to be a quality player in his own right, people. If Jesus stays with Brazil for the duration of the camp, he would return to England less than 72 hours before Arsenal's clash against Brentford. Edu and the club's medical team are in constant dialogue with their Brazilian counterparts over Jesus' fitness. Apparently, he was filmed limping by Brazilian media when he stepped off the plane on Sunday night, but undertook a light training session on Wednesday as he continued his rehab. He's not expected to travel to Colombia, but Brazil are not ruling out him playing against Argentina. So yeah, however many air miles it is from England to Brazil, and then I actually, forgive me, I don't know, I'd imagine one of the games between Colombia and Argentina for Brazil is at home, but you have to make that short journey to either Argentina or Colombia. I'm no medical man, but there's a big song and dance made about traveling and recovery and all of that sort of stuff. And we can have dialogue with Jesus's, well, the Brazilian counterparts on Jesus's behalf. But, you know, we don't know day in, day out. We're not actually seeing what's going on there really and truly. And, you know, clubs don't own players. And for obvious reasons, I want to be wary of using such connotations. But Jesus is Arsenal's asset. They've spent, you know, multi-millions on the individual. He's a key player. And obviously he's rehabilitating from training, really. Well, into training and trying to reintegrate and get his career back going on. Ultimately playing games. Apparently, the Brazilian boss is adamant that it was Jesus' decision to join up and insists he is having expert medical care, which I don't doubt. He said, I trust the player and him being here. I talked to Gabriel and he didn't come here without planning. I mean, Jesus strikes me as someone that needs saving from himself. I don't think he'll ever turn down Arsenal or Brazil. And I think we've got a couple of those players. You know, Mikel Arteta came out the other day and said Benjamin White, in a nice way, isn't necessarily honest. If he's feeling a knock and isn't feeling 100%, he's not going to tell you. So, and I think Jesus is cut from the same ilk. You know, as much as he's as tough as old boots and stuff like that, he played down the initial injury, if you don't remember, in the aftermath of the Sevilla game, I'm sure, on the 24th. But then, as you've seen, he's not played since. He then went on to say, he said he's feeling good and was already doing things 10 days before the first game and 15 days before the second game. We thought it was an interesting risk to bring him here. He's in good condition. We are doing things with great care. As soon as he arrived, we gave him a new MRI scan. We are treating him very carefully. If he's in the right condition, he'll be available against Argentina. If not, I'm sure it was very important for Gabriel to come her. I think they mean here. Dele Alli got pink hair. That's crazy. But yeah, and as I said, Gabriel body check to 51 million pound Brazilian Hendrick. Edu, we've got to start doing what them lot are doing over there, man, if I'm completely honest with you, because Real Madrid just seem to get any sort of sick Brazilian that just respawns. Again, I don't know if we've missed it, but apparently my concern with Gabriel, we brought him here for some reasons and it was important to him. He's one of the players who, even when he played a match below our standards against Uruguay, managed to make a positive impact in the game. It was a very difficult game, but he got there and played well. He helped us sustain our position and create difficulty, sometimes even individually. I trust the player. He's been here. I take satisfaction he didn't come here without planning. He said he was feeling good and already doing certain things. When I talked to him, he already had 2 more weeks left. We thought it was interesting to risk bringing him here. He's in good condition. We are doing things with great care. We've obviously gone over the MRI bit, people. So, yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, if he's fit, he plays against Brazil. There's no issues there. And he gets a bit of fitness into the legs heading into a very important game against Brentford, where Ramsdale's going to step in because we can't use Riot. Then I'm all for it, people. Moving on with that, as I said, Brazil apparently are asking Martinelli to perform a slightly different role. We know on a couple of occasions Martinelli's played as a striker, but in training he's been pictured playing as a number 9. So, that will help us greatly, really and truly. The more versatile players, the better. It's keeping up the theme with Brazil. Chelsea lead the race to sign another Brazilian wonder kid as they get set to rival Arsenal and Liverpool for £26 million. Corinthians midfielder Gabriel Moscardo, who I have in my football manager team, people. He was linked with Chelsea over the summer. He did open up on that. He has been linked with Barcelona as well as Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool. Everybody is watching everyone, especially a talented player with the scope to be better and doing what he's doing at Corinthians. Scouting someone doesn't mean anyone's necessarily bidding, in which Chelsea seem to be a step ahead at this moment because they've actually put money on the table. Maybe there isn't money available. Maybe there's different priorities. Maybe we're just scouting. Maybe these teams are looking at other players at Corinthians. So sending scouts, as you typically hear when a player's linked, doesn't necessarily mean anything. But yeah, people, apparently Chelsea will try to sign him again in January after having an £18 million bid rejected for him in the summer. Corinthians are said to be waiting until after their presidential elections on November the 25th to sell the player. So this January market is that one. I'm all for trying to sign him if we could. I think he's a very talented player from what I've seen, people. So bring him to the carpet. We've gone over this with William Saliba and Deschamps in the previous vid. Apparently, Arsenal rejects Serie A interest in Kirill, people. AS Roma and AC Milan have been linked with Kirill, which would be a return to Serie A. I think he's very unfortunate in that you've got Tomiyasu, a fit timber, and Zinchenko at left back. Obviously, central defense. You've got 2 very talented centre backs in Gabriel and Saliba. But I think Kirill is needed for the squad. I think since he's signed for the club, in his opportunities, he's steadily taking them. And we're going to need you. You're seeing the injuries. Injuries can strike at any time. We've been dealing with them since August, so it doesn't make sense, people. He started 4 times this season and has made 16 appearances. Allegedly, he's highly rated at Arsenal. But, rumours of a move away won't go away. AC Milan have been linked with him. Jose Mourinho's Roma has been linked with him, in which I don't think he wants to leave Arsenal, having just signed. But the lure of going back to a country, having been there already, a defender learning how to, learning from Jose Mourinho is something that would be very hard to turn down. And Rome's elite way of life and more probably regular football. But yeah, it doesn't make sense if I'm completely honest with you. For what it said, Arsenal have no intention of letting him go and are closing the door for him leaving on loan. Apparently, it came out the other day that we rejected a move from Sevilla to sign him on loan in the summer. From one centre back to another, Osman Diomande of Sporting Lisbon. Apparently, Arsenal have already approached Sporting to sign him, and he still remains on the radar, says Ojogo. I'm not too sure if that's anything to believe. He has an €80 million release clause, which is quite hefty, really. For what it's worth, people, he's completed 62 passes per game with an accuracy of 90%. He averages 1.7 tackles, 1.6 clearances, alongside 5.7 recoveries. He's also excelled in contesting duels and has won 70% of his aerial challenges. Now, at just 19 years of age, there's a lot to like, and we wanted him before he went to Sporting. And I think the Sporting president or someone came out and said, had it not have been for Brexit, he might be an Arsenal player, which I have no doubt of his quality. But how would you know you'd be as good as you are now? everything happens for a reason. Where we're linked with, I don't doubt that Mikel Arteta would love another defender, you know, to kind of make us stronger. But when you see us linked with Mark Gurhey, which you're looking at 50 million as a probably a starting point to get negotiations sorted. Sporting Lisbon knew we're getting this guy for pennies. We're going to sell him for multi-million pounds. And I can't imagine they'll let him go in January. And in the summer, he's probably getting a lot of admirers. It's going to be a hefty outlay. And I'm not doubting it. I'm sure there's a method to Arteta. But if we needed to spend significantly, and again, if we've got the money to do it, why not? But if we had to spend a significant amount, surely that significance has to be spent dependent on the profile. But on a striker that's gonna cost a lot of money, unless you know an emerging star, potentially a winger, and probably central midfield, really and truly. But I'll bring him to the carpet. But you know, he's got Arsenal linked with him, Manchester City as well, and there's probably a whole bunch of other clubs. Atalanta are keen to cash in on Koopmeiners at the end of the season. People, Newcastle have been linked with him, but this article also says the Netherlands international has been scouted by Premier League clubs, including Arsenal. I'm sure we took him in at AZ Alkmaar. I'm sure with us needing a central midfielder, we've ran the rule over him. But yeah, we've been linked with him. I don't mind him. Very good technical level. Must admit, name's kind of going off the boil a bit, but why not? Sociedad are considering a £30 million deal for Kieran Tierney next summer. I mean, let's get that done. Big up Tierney for having a great loan spell. I think we could have kept you. I think there's times we could have used you this season, but he wanted more football. He started life in Spain great. He's been injured. We can get 30 million for a player that isn't in Mikel Arteta's plans, then fair enough. That can give us some more creativity in the market where we haven't done. There's not too many players that are going to bring in a significant fee. Balogun's one of note. Other than that, you know, Tavares, Tierney, these guys, Lokonga, not to put Tierney in that realm, but these guys didn't go for anything. We're still going to have to deal with that in the summer. The players that could bring in decent money, we don't necessarily want to sell. The Salibas, the Sakas, the Odegaards, etc. You know, I don't necessarily want to sell Ramsdale, but that's someone in the summer you have to consider. And I'm not too sure on the fee you get for Partey. I think we all know we wouldn't get 45 million euros back or pounds or whatever it was. But I think the club might just say, you know what, let's shave his wages off the wage bill. Even though I wouldn't necessarily, I'm for in many ways letting Partey go, but I think even if he was to find his replacement, I'm very keen to let Partey stay for a year. Apparently there's a clause in his contract to extend it by a year. Speaking of people with a clause in their contract in central midfield, Jorginho already planning next transfer away from Arsenal with contract expiring in the summer. He's got an option of a further 12 months, people. So yeah, and at 31 years of age, we probably have to use Jorginho a bit more than Arteta would like. Not to downplay Jorginho's impact and his appearances, people. He made 14 appearances during the second half of last season, which is great, really, you know. And with the injuries, he's coming to the fore. He has said, I'm very much in doubt. I'm very much in doubt. I would like to return to Italy, but I don't know when the right time would be. I want to return, yes, but I don't know when. I still feel I still have things to do at Arsenal. It always takes time when you change teams, but the first 6 months at Arsenal were not negative. On the contrary. Fair enough, Jorginho. So, yeah, the headline weren't as exciting. We have been linked with Ruben Neves. Apparently, Arsenal, Spurs, and actually Newcastle have been linked with a loan move. And, you know, bringing him on a loan, I would like a permanent option as well, just if in case we ever want to try that. But bringing him on a loan, it might not cost too much, and it might be something that we could do to tie us over. He is Premier League proven. He is a player Mikel Arteta does like. We have tried to buy the 26-year-old Portuguese midfielder prior. Romano has said, elsewhere with Arsenal, we're seeing some surprise links with a loan move for Ruben Neves at El Hilal. He's been mainly linked with Newcastle, who appreciate the player, but there's also historical interest from Mikel Arteta. He has always liked Neves, but there are no negotiations at the moment, people. So there you have it. That's just relaying the same thing that we said there. And that's also relaying what we've already gone over. So with that being said, people, that's everything we've discussed. Let me know your thoughts on you know, buying a midfielder or anyone in January. Do you think we will? Let me know your thoughts on Ruben Neves, Thomas Partey. I know we didn't specifically discuss him, but Aaron Ramsdale, Jorginho, and everything else we've discussed, people. Again, leave a comment if you haven't commented before. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, stay safe, stay blessed. Appreciative for you lot for rocking with the guy. We'll link up again soon. Peace.
There's always just that active when that defenders are being given, like